So this past month has been a harrowing month for air travel. In this past month, there have been fatal aircraft accidents here in Washington, D.C., in Philadelphia, in Alaska, and just yesterday in Arizona. Fortunately, all the passengers and crew survived the crash in Toronto earlier this week. How would you help restore confidence in air travel and maintain a safe national airspace?
We need to bring resources to bear immediately. I think the Secretary has indicated he's doing this, to review all of the safety systems we use in air traffic control in the FAA. We need to upgrade those systems. There's been a lot of talk for decades about improving the efficiency and effectiveness of the systems, making sure we have up-to-date technical systems for the FAA, and yet we still see that systems are obsolete. They haven't performed the way they need to perform. The process of upgrading is too slow. We need somehow to break through. We need new thinking on it. I think that's what the Secretary is focused on very keenly. But we also, Mr. Chairman, need to improve, expand the capacity of the training of new air traffic controllers, get the best and brightest in there, and we have to take a hard look at that process and the capabilities of our air traffic controllers. So we still have the safest air system in the world, but we cannot fall down on the job, and these recent disasters are just a horrible reminder that we need to be constantly vigilant because we have a zero tolerance for commercial air disasters.
Yesterday, Secretary Duffy published an op-ed in which he said, quote, "America's air traffic systems need an urgent upgrade. DoT is addressing aging networks and systems like NOTAM. It is taking a close look at personnel, boosting its recruitment of air traffic controllers. The FAA Reauthorization Act of 2024, which Senator Cantwell and I wrote, requires maximum hiring of air traffic controllers for the next 5 years. Should the FAA continue to exempt safety-critical staff like controllers from any potential hiring freezes or layoffs?"
Well, the Secretary will make that judgment, but he's been pretty clear that all safety-critical officials are exempt from the recent cuts and the focus, and air traffic controllers certainly fall into that category. We need more air traffic controllers. We need a faster pipeline, larger capacity in that, and clearly Congress has spoken on that, and I think it's a major priority.
And just to clarify what the Secretary has said, there's been a lot of news coverage about the reduction in force at the FAA. My understanding is it's less than 1% of the workforce. And what Secretary Duffy has said is that no air traffic controllers were included in that and that no safety critical positions were included in that. Is that your understanding as well?
Yes, I heard those statements, and that's very consistent with what I know to be his focus, to ensure that as we achieve greater efficiencies in funding and staffing throughout the department, that those cuts, where appropriate, will be made without compromising safety, and he'll ensure that safety-critical staffing is sufficient to address those needs.
So in his confirmation hearing, Secretary Duffy made various commitments to this committee, and I want to run through a few of them right now to make sure you and he are on the same page. And to make this easier, the answer to each of these questions should be yes. Will you work with my office to ensure that the new Center for Advanced Aviation Technology, created by the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2024, is established in Dallas-Fort Worth, consistent with congressional intent?
I will certainly support the Secretary's efforts in that regard.
Will you prioritize the renewal of TxDOT's NEPA assignment authority on reasonable terms before its expiration in March of 2025?
I think the department, certainly I personally strongly support NEPA authority being assigned to states that have the capability of undertaking complex NEPA assessments. I certainly understand that Texas is one of those states, and I think this is a good, efficient process.
For nearly 4 years, 5 deepwater port license applications have languished in the U.S. Maritime Administration, MARAD. Will you commit to expediting MARAD's review of the application from Texas-based Delphin and LNG?
I definitely intend to look into that and make sure that MARAD is moving those applications forward as quickly and that there aren't any unnecessary, unreasonable delays in that. I totally support the effort with deepwater ports.
Will you commit to reviewing penalties issued by the FAA against SpaceX and curtailing bureaucratic overreach at the FAA's Office of Commercial Space Transportation?
Yes, and I strongly support further streamlining efforts with regard to commercial space licensing regulation.
Okay, and two more. Will you commit to providing my office with the DOT staff ratings for all discretionary grant applications over the last 4 years in which the California High-Speed Rail Project received an award?
I understand that the Secretary received that request and will be responding to that, and I will work with the Secretary to make sure that this committee and you, Mr. Chairman, get what you need.
He said yes, and I'll take that as a yes as well. And finally, do you agree that pipelines are one of the safest modes of surface transportation and that DOT should let data drive regulatory decisions?
Yes.
Thank you.